So thank you. I'm a recovering president. I want to begin by expressing my appreciation to the RMAC, to Commissioner Graham, and certainly to the Hall of Fame Committee for this recognition. And I also want to acknowledge John Kitzman for his nomination, and certainly to Joan McDermott, who was an unbelievable athletic director to work with during my time at MSU Denver as president. I want to spend a little time talking about student athletes, and I'm so pleased to see those student athletes up here today. I started playing baseball when I was in third grade. I was an Army brat, and we were in Japan. And as an Army brat, I learned very early on the Douglas MacArthur saying about athletics. On the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds on other days, on other fields will bear the fruits of victory. And while MacArthur was talking about athletics and its importance to the United States Military Academy, he has put together a description of why athletics are so important in general in the collegiate sphere. If you think about it, he's really talking about sportsmanship, about leadership, about teamwork, about adversity, strategy, perseverance. And you all have other nouns that you could have added to the list, but it was and is and always will be about the student athlete in the collegiate environment. And it certainly shaped my views on the importance of maintaining a healthy environment for intercollegiate athletics at the university that I led and at the NCAA when I became chair of Division II President's Council. As early as 2008, many of us realized that the direction Division was going, an escalating war of expenditures that could only a few could afford. And we told our colleagues in Division I that they needed to stop this, that they needed to pull back. Now you can say, Mr. President, you didn't have a whole lot of success. But we did take the time in Division II to step back and take a look at ourselves and say, what could we do differently? And we found out that our student athletes were spending as much or more time in the perfection of their sport as the Division I athletes were. We found that they weren't participating in community engagement like every other student because we wouldn't allow them to because that was a competitive advantage. We would say if they were out in a community event, they were recruiting other kids from other schools to come in instead of being there to actually help kids to advance. And so we developed a 2-year package of reforms that reduced the number of competitions, that started the fall season a week later to give athletes more time at home, that restricted the types of activities and timelines for position training, that created, for the first time in the NCAA of any division, a complete dead period at Christmas. Every athlete goes home. Every coach goes home. Every trainer goes home. Nobody travels. People become students and see their parents. It was known as Life in the Balance, and its purpose was and remains today to help students balance athletics and actually having the opportunity to excel at being a student at the same time, which is why I'm so pleased to see those students up here today. So why do I bring up this old history? Because recently there have been a number of sports columns that, as a result of the changes occurring in Division I, football and basketball, have declared that the day of the student athlete is officially dead. What they're really saying is that the amateur athletics as practiced by colleges and universities is dead and will be replaced by semi-professional athletics. And while this may be inevitable for the former Power 5 conferences of Division I, we, you and I, should not be silent to these interpretations that somehow these schools are representatives of the values held by the vast majority of the NCAA, and certainly those are not the values held by Division II. We must speak out with clarity about why we believe in the student-athlete model and with examples that demonstrate what we believe. And let me give you one brief example. In 2008, as we were starting our work, Central Washington University's women's softball team was playing Western Oregon at Central Washington, 100 people at the games max. Both teams were tied in the conference, and the winner was going to go on to the regionals. So it was an important game. A young woman is up to bat for Western Oregon, smallest player on the team. She had a goal to hit a home run, had never hit one. It was her senior year. She hits a home run. 2 people on base. She rounds first base, realizes she misses the base. She spins around to go back to touch first base, and she blows out her knee. Has to crawl back to first base. Now, if the Western Oregon folks had gone to help her, she would have been out. She couldn't run anymore. She drove in 2 runs, so at this point she has a single with 2 runs driven in. The first baseman for Western Washington, who was the all-time home run hitter for Central, walks up to the umpire and says, "Can we help her?" And the umpire says, "Well, there's no rule against that." And so she and the shortstop walk over to first base, pick her up, carry her to second, carry her to third, carry her home, letting her touch each base along the way. On that day, on that field, we saw an extraordinary example of sportsmanship, a demonstrable example of adversity. We saw unselfish leadership. We saw the seeds of victory for those student athletes and their teams that was larger than the final score. And by the way, Western Oregon won that game 4-2 on the basis of that 3-run homer. We need to remind everyone who asks why we believe in the student-athlete model and to say, this is why. To the amazing student-athletes that are being recognized tonight, my heartiest congratulations. I want to thank you again for this honor. I'm humbled and grateful for the conference for all you do. I am excited for these student athletes, and I urge each one of you, when you have the opportunity, speak up for the student athlete model. Thank you.